Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for your patience and welcome to hashtag Jammy Online, GSEP's Career Summer Series Kickoff event. This series has been brought to you by the GSEP Career Services and Alumni Relations teams. And it's really in order to support or provide additional support to our community during these challenging times. Jammy is actually a spinoff of our January Career Week event. The word Jammy itself is Swahili for community. And Jammy programs are designed to provide up-to-date insight on career trends in education and psychology while building a professional network of students, alumni, and industry leaders. The theme for today's Jammy kickoff event is Thinking Outside the Box. And I have the pleasure now of introducing to you our presentation team. So my name is Yas Hardaway, and I'm the Executive Director of Career Services.
Hi, everyone. My name is Frania Arroyo, and I'm the Career Services Specialist.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Parsa Pekar. I'm a Career Services Graduate Assistant and also a student at GSEP Psychology Division.
Hi everyone, my name is Io Tejada Salgado. I am also a Career Services Graduate Assistant, and I am also a student in the GSEP Psychology Department.
Hi everybody, my name is Nadine Surratt, and I am the Assistant Director of Career Education and Counseling.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Renee Dorn. I'm Director of Alumni Relations for GSEP, and I'm also a GSEP alum.
Hi everyone, my name is Sofia Enriquez and I am the Alumni Relations Analyst for GSEP.
Okay, so thank you to our presentation team who has worked hard to put this together for all of us today. And just wanted to let you know that I will be monitoring the chat, so please feel free to put in your questions and I can answer them along the way or summarize them at the end. And this session is also being recorded for those who were unable to make it and for those of you who'd like to rewatch it again in the future. So let me go ahead and present our agenda for today. Our time together. So Parsa will be presenting to us a perspective on crisis to get us thinking about how we want to frame this period of uncertainty. Io then will talk a little bit about some of the economic implications of COVID-19. And then Parsa will talk more about remote employment options and some of the resources that you have available to you in finding those remote opportunities. Nadine will talk to us a little bit about virtual job search strategies and how we can utilize this time productively and resources that will help us along the way. And then Dr. Dorn and Sophia will talk a little bit about what's next for our future Jammy. I also wanted to let you know that I will be uploading a resource guide that our presenters will be referring to throughout this session. And we'll also provide a link to the Google Doc at the end as well, so that you have access to all the information that's being shared today. So without further ado, I'll let Parsa kick us off.
Awesome. Thank you, Yas. So again, I welcome every one of you, and we just want to say we really care about you, and that's why we put this webinar together. And I would like to start with a quote by Rahm Emanuel. He was a former mayor of Chicago. And he said, "Never let a serious crisis go to waste." And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things you think you could not do before. So we put the theme for this webinar, thinking outside the box, because with crisis, when crisis comes, we need to think creatively. And I would like to share a story. This is a very interesting story, and I think this is perfect for the time we're in. And there was a story of a wise man who won an expensive car in a lottery. And his family and friends were very happy for him, and they came to celebrate. And they said, "Well, isn't that great that you're so lucky to win this car?" And the man smiled and said, "Maybe." So a few weeks went past by. He was enjoying the car, and one day a drunken driver just crashed into his car, and he ended up in the hospital and with a couple of injuries. And the same family and friends came up to him again and said, "Well, that was really unfortunate." And he smiled again and said, "Maybe." Well, while he was in the hospital, one night there was a landslide and his house fell in the sea. And same friends and family came and said, well, weren't you lucky? You've been in a hospital. And he said, maybe. And the story goes on. And I believe, when we face a crisis, we might have judgments, right? It's very natural for us to say, well, this is bad, this is good. But at the same time, we need to think about what we can use this crisis as. I believe with crisis always come opportunities. So in other words, if we don't have a crisis, we can never have opportunity. And I understand this time is hard. Many people have lost their jobs and we are all in this together. But for today, I want us to think about these three questions. First of all, what is crisis and what does it mean to me? So I found out the definition of crisis in the dictionary, and this is interesting. It says, first, it's an emotional significant event or radical change of status in a person's life. Another definition said is an unstable or crucial time or state of affairs in which a decisive change is impending. And lastly, it's a situation that has reached a critical phase, which I believe we are in that situation right now. The second question I want us to think about is, what is on the other side of crisis, right? So we understand the nature of crisis, but we want to go and take a look at through this webinar, what is on the other side. And lastly, how can we use this crisis to my advantage as an individual to create something meaningful for myself and the people in our life.
Hello again, everyone. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the economic implications of COVID-19, starting with kind of like a macro level on the economic situation. So as we've seen in the past couple of weeks, there's been an increase in unemployment, with the numbers increasing every week and every day, and we get the report every week, and they're astronomical, leading to one of the biggest increases in unemployment rate since 2008. As we know, 2008 was when we had the recession. However, according to a Gallup survey, it is expected that only 1% of those who are currently unemployed will remain unemployed. So despite of the unemployment rate, along with other factors, may lead us to a temporary recession. What I mean by that is that unlike the 2008 recession, this period might be sort of kind of eradicated until by 2021. So it won't be as prolonged as the one we saw in 2008. However, the economists say that this kind of expectation for it to be eradicated by 2021 is contingent on how long the stay-at-home orders remain. Specifically, the trajectory of the recession is projected to be a V-shape, and by that, it means that what we're going to see is a steep decline in the economy with a rapid kind of bounce back period. So it's not going to last very long. Unlike something of a U-shape where we'll see there's like a little time frame between the time that the economy decreases and increases back. And that's just a little bit of the economic implications of it. There will be more information provided in the resource guide. In terms of higher education, which I feel like it's important, especially since most of us are in that realm, there is this move that we've seen towards virtual learning in terms of Zoom and the use of Google Classrooms, and then having that community in sense in the virtually. However, while this move towards a virtual classroom has provided some sort of accommodation for those with disabilities or parents, The shift has also created a shift in grading. So grading has moved from, at least most schools have moved grading from a more competitive sort of field and grading system to a less competitive one, which has some implications for those students who would want to be and potentially apply to programs that are harder to get into, and this shift will also make them less competitive. In terms of student loans, which is one of the biggest things that we've seen news on in terms of higher education, there's been a suspension of federal loans until the end of September. This suspension also includes a 0% interest rate at the time, so which includes loans that have been defaulted and loans that have not been defaulted. And then I want to touch a little bit more on standardized testing, which is something that costs money and you have to obviously leave your space to go take. So at this time, some colleges have waived GRE requirements. Most of these programs are at the master's level. And College Board has provided at-home testing sessions in which you take the tests at home, but you're monitored online by a proctor that they provide. I will now be talking a little bit more about what this means in terms of the workplace environment and how that is going to change. In terms of recruitment, we saw in 2008 a slow down of recruitment during the recession. However, after the recession, businesses did not increase their recruitment rates, and it kind of remained steady from that period. So instead of increasing the recruitment rate at that time, what businesses kind of wanted from potential applicants was to have these stellar qualifications and be more, and their current employees be more productive and just overall be outstanding. In terms of today, recruitment is expected to follow a similar path, but since recruitment has been slow since 2008, it's going to slow down even more, which for employees, it means that they're expected to be even more productive, even more flexible in terms of hours, placement, and pay increases. And potential employees will be expected to have even more qualifications. So it's kind of inflated what we saw after the 2008 recession. In terms of interviewing, we're going to talk a little bit more about the interviewing process virtually later on in the presentation. But I just want to kind of bring to attention the fact that interviewing now, since we are staying at home and practicing social distancing, has shifted from a face-to-face interview to a virtual one. The use, the use of virtual interviews will allow companies to have a wider reach, be more time and cost efficient. Excuse me. In terms of policies, what we're seeing is that employers are moving towards remote work and implementing policies that are more safer for mental health and, excuse me. I'm so sorry, my throat dried up there. Policies that are more conscious of their employees' mental health and health in general. This also includes implementing policies for people who have disabilities or other accommodations that will fall into this remote work era that we're encountering. In that same vein, for individuals, it just means that they get to work at home and have more use of more control of their space, have more autonomy, and kind of create their own work environment. However, what we've also seen is that this time is also very anxiety provoking. So at this time, like I mentioned before, businesses have implemented policies in in order for their employees' mental health to improve. So what does this mean at a macro level? So at a macro level, what we've seen is that while the COVID-19 crisis is unfortunate, and it is a crisis, and it is a time that is unprecedented, this kind of allows workers to see that their employers can accommodate them in terms of implementing remote work options or even mixed work options, especially for those who are parents and people that have disabilities. These are both communities that have been often looked over for promotions or pay increases because of the accommodations that they have. So while the COVID-19 crisis is unfortunate, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for certain communities and just everyone in general in terms of how their employers treat them and give them autonomy over their own workspace and work hours.
Awesome. Again, so we want to talk about the opportunities we have in the heart of this challenge. And I'd like to again share a quote by Dave Pelzer. He's a bestseller author, and he says, "Something good comes out of every crisis." And that is so true. And through this slide, I'll be examining present opportunities and also having a futuristic view of what is ahead of us, right? Second, I'll be talking about what's on the other side of crisis, what type of employment are available right now. And lastly, I'll share some job search sites and also new takeaway ideas. I'll walk through 2 examples, but as Yas mentioned, as you guys can see in our chat box, we'll have all the resources you need, and it's all free. You can download them and they'll be are there. I'm just gonna present them so you can see. For examining present opportunities, I would like to take 2 areas. First, consulting and coaching. And what we found out is, first, you can become a coach in your field, right? So there are different fields that you can get yourself into. Also, you can start a blog or write blogs. There are websites that they accept bloggers. And third, there's some self-development materials that you can provide or you can do on yourself. Nadine will be talking more about the importance of self-development, but this is a great, great chance for you to work on yourself. And on education side of things, there is a possibility to be an online teacher, either English or any other subject. Also, being a translator is another great option that is available now. And lastly, it's tutoring. And so let me just walk through 2 of these websites that we chose. First one is called dynamicjobs.co. And as you can see, this is what we had yesterday. There's 624 jobs available. And the interesting thing about it is on the left-hand side, if you can see, there are different categories that you can choose, and it brings you all different jobs that are available within that field. It is a very sufficient website. It lets you to look at the companies and choose and be able to be in touch with them. The other one, which is very unique and very interesting, is called teacherspayteachers.com. And this website is basically, as you can see on the left-hand side, there are different grades, which you can, if you're a teacher or if you have some sort of curriculum that you like to teach in different subjects, right? Education, anything you can choose. And you can sell your work to them, or this is another chance for networking, that you can be in touch with other teachers. And also there are different lessons from other teachers who have submitted their works, and you can choose them from. So as we go through this webinar, we will share more information about networking, as well as how you can really brand yourself, right, as an individual for these kind of jobs.
All right, hi everybody. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about some job search tools and strategies that you can use as you navigate the job market right now. So we're just going to jump right in with our first strategy. It's going to be to think broadly and outside the box. So we know that a lot of you are probably graduating soon, or maybe you've already graduated recently. Maybe you've been working in your field for a while, but you just want to be able to land a full-time, well-paying job doing what you've studied so hard for and what you're passionate about. And of course, this is the ultimate goal, but we want to mention that if this doesn't happen right away, or if your career path takes a detour, that's okay too. So we just heard from EO about the impact on the economy and how the job market is changing. And so with our current circumstances being the way that they are, it's okay, and it might be even necessary to adopt a shift in our outlook just for the time being. So with that being said, although there will be an increase in unemployment and potential hiring freezes, there are still opportunities for things like short-term, remote, or part-time, or even contracted positions that you are qualified for. So being unable to land a full-time job in your field right now, it's not a failure on your part, and it's not necessarily a reflection of your skills or competitiveness either. It's just going to be a result of the difficult job market at the current moment. So that being said, if you do happen to find yourself in a position that is part-time or short-term, or in a field that is completely different than what you studied or just not what you planned for, just know that it's understandable, it's okay, and it won't be permanent. So just have some grace for yourself and trust that your time in a position is not going to be a waste. If anything, you can use it to your advantage to make yourself more marketable when this whole crisis is over. So keeping that in mind, our first tip is just broaden your options to include other types of work, because that might help you find more success in your job search. And so now moving on to our next slide, I'm going to be talking a little bit about sectors that thrive versus those that struggle in an economic downturn. So it's important to be aware of this as you conduct your job search and figure out where you want to apply. I'm sure by now you've heard of some industries like hospitality, entertainment, travel, the restaurant business. Those are at risk, and they've either frozen hiring or they've been laying off. But the good news is that there are still definitely more industries that are in need and are hiring right now. For example, online learning companies, they are booming currently because we have more than 30 million kids out of school and at home who need access to education. So they're hiring teachers to meet those demands. And similarly, large tech companies that offer remote services and products like Zoom or Slack are also hiring people to meet their needs. For those of you who are in our psych programs on the mental health side of things, that work might be more relevant than ever, as people are really trying to adapt to this unprecedented situation and cope with all of the changes and the anxieties that it's bringing. So I won't be going into the specifics of every industry just for the sake of time, but you can see here on this PowerPoint slide that we have a graph illustrating different industries and whether they are hiring, freezing, or laying off. So this graph actually comes from a website called cultivatedculture.com, and it's updated regularly. And we have the link available on the resource guide, so you can check it out, the whole website, if you'd like more information. It has tons of great job market tips and insights and other strategies. But as you're looking into organizations or jobs that you're interested in, try to target those industries and companies that are growing despite the outbreak. You can see on this graph, I know it shows that most industries, if not all of them, are both hiring, which is in green, and at the same time laying off, at the same time freezing hiring, which is in yellow. And that just shows, we're looking at more of a global picture, more of a bird's eye view of the industry as a whole, and the differences there are probably accounted for by different organizations. So you're gonna wanna look into specific places. So that you can pivot towards where the new jobs are or where they will be. And this might not be where you originally intended to look. It's important to know that, but remember, it's okay. What we mentioned on the previous slide, you're gonna have to broaden your options a little bit. So one helpful and concrete tip to go about this is to make an actual tangible list of companies and organizations that you're interested in, and then do your research on those places. So become as well-versed as you can in who they are and what they do, so that when an opportunity does open up with them, you'll be ready. And now on the next slide, I'm just going to be showing you a little bit more data and information. So this is another website that we wanted to feature called candor.co that actually has a continually updated list of specific companies that are reportedly hiring, freezing, or laying off. So the last slide, that graph was more macro level. It was more of a bird's eye view. This website, candor.co, lists specific companies and organizations. So it's giving you that more zoomed in look at individual places. So this list is actually 100% user generated, meaning it's based on people's self-report. And you can even add your own contributions in there if you'd like. And you can see here that I mentioned earlier, I just highlighted Zoom on this slide. Again, just as an example, it's listed as one of the companies that is currently hiring. So as you do go about your job search and you're looking into potential companies that you're interested in, you can use this resource to check about the status of their hiring and if it's listed there. And like I said, if you'd like more insight on job market trends, don't worry about remembering these websites. We have them both listed on our resource guide. And it's shared with all of you guys in the chat, as well as you can download it or you can look at the Google Doc. It's there for you. So now moving on, we're going to be talking about our next strategy, which is going to be very important. It's personal branding. So it's going to be good to take this time to think about and develop your personal brand. So that's basically how you want to convey yourself to others. So some questions that you can ask yourself are, just to get your mind going on this, is who am I and what am I passionate about? What are my skills and my areas of knowledge? And then lastly, how can I leverage these skills and areas of knowledge to bring value to a particular organization or company? So basically think about how you want to be perceived professionally. And maybe the first step would be to come up with a brief headline for yourself. So that's just kind of to sum up who you are and what you do. And maybe an example, if you're in the mental health field, would be something like bilingual clinician with a desire to work with children and families. Or maybe in education, it would be something like K-12 educator and curriculum designer. Or maybe you're a social entrepreneur and community advocate. So those are just some ideas, but think about something for yourself and then work on your 30-second elevator pitch. You want to be able to articulately and efficiently explain who you are and what you do in a concise way. So that's all part of your personal brand. And once you've kind of thought about it, fleshed it out a little bit, take that personal brand and apply it to your resume and your cover letter. Now is really a great time to make sure those documents are up to date and reflect who you are. And on Handshake, we actually have some great examples. And I'm going to be sharing my screen and walking you through just to show you where our examples are located. Let me share my screen really quickly. All right. So if you guys don't know what Handshake is, it is GSEP's career portal. It's basically where we post all of our helpful resources for you to see, as well as where we have a curated job board, basically, of employment listings and jobs that you can apply to. So I would really encourage you guys to utilize Handshake and everything we have on there. So I'm going to show you where our resources are. If you click on the upper right-hand corner on Career Center, I'm sorry, my internet is probably slow, so thank you for your patience. Okay, so once I clicked on Career Center, right here, I'm going to click on Resources. So we have tons of resources here for you, but I want to draw your attention to two specifically. The first is going to be GSEP cover letter tips and samples, and then the second is going to be GSEP resume tips and samples. So I'm going to click on resume tips and samples just to show you what that looks like. So once I click here, you can see in the middle of the page, we have listed just some general information and tips on things like strategy, format, what to include in your resume. But over here on the left-hand side, we have some even more information. So we have like a list of resume action verbs that you can use. We have example psychology resumes, as well as example education resumes. And then we even have templates that you can adopt as your own. So feel free to use and access all these resources whenever you need to customize and update your resume and cover letter. But if you'd like some more personalized support or just some extra guidance, you can also schedule an appointment with Career Services. And if you haven't done that before, I'll quickly show you how to do that. So again, we're going to click on the upper right-hand corner on Career Center. And once I click there, I'm going to click on Appointments. And then we'll click on Schedule a New Appointment. And make sure you click on GSEP. And you're given two options. So for a typical resume or cover letter review, if you want to talk about your CV, if you want to do a mock interview, or just simply talk about job search strategies, you would be selecting Virtual 30 Self-Marketing Consultation. So it's the top option. I'll click on that. And once I click on that, you see I can now scroll through the days and weeks to select a day and time that works for me. So as I said, feel free to schedule an appointment with us if you'd like more help. We're always here and available for you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and we'll return to the PowerPoint. Still pulling up that PowerPoint. Hold on one second. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So, and if we just go back one more slide, there we go. Perfect. So I'm just going to pick up where we left off talking about resume and cover letter. One last thing I want to mention about those is that it's going to be really important to tailor them specifically to the job posting that you're applying to. So read the job descriptions carefully and showcase the skills that you have that match that job description. And a great resource or tool that you can use to help you with this is called JobScan. So JobScan, if you haven't heard about it, it's a website that uses artificial intelligence to personalize your resume. It's especially going to be helpful if you are uploading or submitting your applications through to an applicant tracking system, or what we call an ATS for short. And chances are, if you're submitting your application online through some type of portal or something like that, you're probably submitting it to an ATS. Now, applicant tracking systems take your resume and they compare it to the job posting that you're applying to. And then they evaluate you on key items. Basically, it boils down to how well your resume matches or compares to the job posting that you're applying to. And then the ATS will rank you or evaluate you, push you through to HR personnel or a hiring manager based on how well you match to the job description or how well your resume matches. So where does JobScan come in? JobScan does exactly what an ATS would do. You upload your resume into JobScan as well as the job description that you're applying to, and it's going to take your resume and compare it to that job posting and then offer you some really helpful feedback and suggestions to strengthen your resume in order to bypass the filters built into ATS, applicant tracking systems, so that you can hopefully land more interviews. So the image that we have on the PowerPoint slide is an example of what JobScan does. It's a screenshot taken from their site. And you can see that you're given a match rate, which is based off of how your resume compares to the job posting that you're applying to. And so on this slide that we have right now, this is another example of what JobScan does. So it evaluates the skills listed on your resume and then compares them to the skills that are listed as required or preferred in the job posting. So it then tells you how you can improve and add a skill or increase the amount of times you mention a certain skill. And this is again done with the intention of improving how you're going to be evaluated by the applicant tracking system, which is very common nowadays. It'll help you bypass those filters, hopefully get your resume in the hands of an actual person with the intention of then landing more interviews. So JobScan has a free version. It allows you to upload up to 5 resumes or cover letters per month to be compared to the job postings that you're applying to. But there's also a premium version of JobScan, and this allows you to upload unlimited amounts of cover letters or resumes. So this premium version normally comes with a cost, but actually the first 5 people who respond to our feedback survey that will be going out at the end of this presentation will receive access to a free premium JobScan account from Career Services for a limited amount of time. So we're encouraging you to please fill out that survey, not just to give us feedback on our presentation, but also to get a chance to receive this free premium service from JobScan that will help you in your job search. Awesome. So the next thing that I wanted to mention, just my last point on personal branding, is going to be about online presence. So when I say online presence, I want you to think about what shows up when someone Googles your name. What do they see when they look at your LinkedIn or PEP Connect profiles? Or do you even have a LinkedIn or PEP Connect profile? So you want to make sure that you're portraying what you want companies and hiring personnel to see. So take this time to update your LinkedIn and PEP Connect and become active online, or just create those profiles if you don't have one already. So I know you all probably know what LinkedIn is, but I wanted to mention that PEP Connect is Pepperdine's platform for mentoring and networking with fellow students, alumni, faculty, and staff. So it's really specific to the Pepperdine community and could be a great place to meet fellow waves, which will be a good resource for you in your job search. And as far as becoming active online goes, you can perhaps post thoughtful articles or blog posts, engage with others to establish yourself as a critical thinker and an active presence in your community. This will really go a long way, and really establishing your presence online is going to be really helpful for a later point that I'm going to be talking about, which is networking. So we're going to get to that soon. But before we get to networking, I wanted to talk a little bit about engaging in professional development. So this is our next strategy. I know that most of us have more time in our days, and this just means more opportunity that we can take to build upon the skills we already have or potentially learn some new ones. So now is really an ideal time to explore your interests, identify any skill gaps you have, and pursue potential growth opportunities. And so a lot of companies are actually helping and making this pretty easy. So they're offering free courses right now. So it's something that we can take advantage of. And these are just some examples that we have on the screen: LinkedIn Learning, edX, and Coursera. And don't worry, again, these are all on the resource guide that's provided to you. But I just wanted to take a moment to highlight and feature LinkedIn Learning. And that's because as current Pepperdine students, you actually have free access to over 14,000 videos on LinkedIn Learning. So I'm going to share my screen again very quickly, just to show you guys how to log in and what that looks like. All right, so you can see I'm here on the Pepperdine community page, and I came here just because it's easy to sign in this way. you're going to be signing in using your login, WaveNet login information, and it makes it really easy. You can just literally come here and click sign in. And once I do that, you'll see it opens a new tab. And I'm already logged in, so I don't have to go through the process. But once you're logged in, it'll redirect you to LinkedIn Learning. And 1 second as it loads. Okay, so now that it's loaded, you can see here that you have access to tons of videos that are actually curated and suggested for you based on your interests. So once you sign up for LinkedIn Learning, you're asked about some topics or ideas that you might be interested in hearing more about, and then it'll filter some videos and suggest certain things based on how you answered. And it's everything as short as maybe 7 or 8 minutes I've seen, up to like 3-hour courses. So it's really dependent upon what you're interested in and what you have time for. And so, as I said, if you're a current Pepperdine student, you have free access to everything on LinkedIn Learning. We also have on our resource guide, if you scroll to the bottom, we have 10 specific, about I think 10 or so specific videos that we're suggesting right now that are specific to job searching, like handling a changing economy, stuff like that. You can click on those links and be taken directly to those videos. And if you're an alum, those videos are unlocked for you through sometime the end of this month. So I would take advantage of that, check out those videos. And they're not too long. I know some of them are around maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, some are even shorter. So feel free to take a look at those when you have the time and take advantage of this free resource. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we will get back to the PowerPoint once again. And so now we're going to be moving on to our next slide, which is going to be talking about networking and connecting. So this next point that I want to talk about is probably the most important strategy that I'm going to be mentioning. And it's important for many reasons. I'm just waiting for it to be pulled. Okay, perfect. So this one, like I said, is probably the most important strategy that I'm going to be talking about today. We always say that building connections is important, but truly now more than ever, it's going to be crucial in helping you secure a position. So we're definitely adhering to the Safer at Home order. We're making sure that we're being responsible, but that doesn't mean that you can't network and connect. So you should really be, once you have your LinkedIn and Pep Connect profiles up and running, leveraging those networks. And the reason why we stress this so much is because the rate of landing a position through an online posting, the success rate is about 4%. But when you know someone, that actually increases dramatically. The saying is that people hire people. So a lot of times you're going to learn about opportunities through your connections. So a way to go about this is to identify key people from your past, key people from your present, and key people from your future. So people come from your past could be someone maybe that you used to work with, an old supervisor, or maybe someone just that you know who could be helpful for you in your job search. Key people from your present could be someone, maybe your most recent professor that you had. I know it's spring break, but maybe from last semester, you never got a chance to really connect with them. It could be a current or a classmate that you had recently who you didn't get to meet on a deeper level. Maybe they already work in the field that you're interested in. It could be someone to reach out to and create a relationship with. And then key people from your future are people who you don't know yet, but you want to get to know. Maybe you know someone who knows them. And these people work in the field that you want to work in or do what you want to do. Or maybe they work for the company that you're interested in and want to work for. So I mentioned a few slides ago, and one of our first strategies was to make a list of those companies and organizations that you're interested in and do your research on them. So part of that research is going to be identifying people who work there that you can connect with. And so once you've identified people that you can connect or reconnect with, it's going to be important to reach out and set up what we call virtual informational interviews. If you want to say it more casually, it could be a career conversation. So you could do this by proposing a brief phone call or maybe a virtual coffee chat. And I want to emphasize that the purpose is to gain helpful career information, expand your network, and learn of new opportunities that you may not have otherwise heard of. So you're reaching out basically to form a relationship, not ask for a job. That's really important. So approach it as if you're asking for advice, insight, and experience. You can even personalize your message to showcase your talents, but then go a step further and demonstrate a working knowledge of who they are and their company, any recent initiatives that they've taken. And especially if this person works for one of the companies or organizations that you're interested in, revealing how you would fit into their culture and contribute to their needs at this time would really set you apart. So this way, even if they're not hiring now, once something does open up, you'll have a potential referral or a contact person there. In other words, they would be your bridge person, meaning they would be the connection between you and the job that you want or the company that you want to work for. And again, on Handshake, we have tons of helpful resources to guide you in scheduling or setting up your informational interviews. It's going to be located in the same place where I showed you the resume tips and samples, so under the resources tab. But I do want to highlight a specific resource. It's called Mango, and those are the images that you see on the screen. So mangoconnects.com is a free tool that actually coaches you through networking, starting with the outreach email. It helps you actually write that initial outreach email, and it guides you through a handy template that you can use, so it makes it very easy. So check out Handshake for more information on Mango. We have some guides there, and also mangoconnects.com is listed on your resource guide, so feel free to take a look there for more information. And I know maintaining relationships and building connections is a lot of work, but we want to stress this because it could really be the defining factor in your job search right now. All right, so moving on to, we're almost at the end of the strategies, but our second to last strategy that I'm going to be mentioning is preparing for virtual interviews. So we already heard that the whole hiring process is moving online, and that includes the interview. So become familiar with the technology that the company is going to be using and try to do a test run or a practice run, either with a friend or even by yourself in the mirror if you can. Because I do want to mention that you may be interviewing with another person over something like Zoom, but it's also important to know that you could also be interviewing with like an artificial intelligence system. So a lot of companies out there like Taleo or HireVue actually use AI to evaluate and interview you. So what I mean by that is instead of actually speaking to a person, a question will maybe pop up on the screen, and then you're given a certain amount of time to answer that. And then the AI software is evaluating you and analyzing you, not an interviewer. And so AI softwares typically evaluate you on things like audio, video, and content. And then there are many subcategories under those three main categories that they evaluate you on. So you're not actually talking to another person, you're talking to a software and artificial intelligence. So keeping that in mind, there are some tips and strategies that you can use to ensure that you do a good job in these interviews. So the first is framing and backdrop. You want to make sure that you are at the center of the screen, that you analyze your posture, and that you angle your camera to allow you to fill the screen so that maybe your forehead is not cut off and not too much of your torso is showing. And then as far as backdrop goes, just make sure that you're in a clean, clutter-free environment and something that's quiet. And if you don't have something like that available, there are tons of virtual backgrounds that you can use. I'm using one right now. So you have a lot of options online that you can download and use for yourself if you really want to ensure something professional. As far as lighting and audio goes, lighting is huge. You want to make sure that you pick a place that's well lit and that the light source is coming from in front of you. So the best thing that you can do is put maybe a lamp behind your camera or just in front of you, or sit in front of a window. I'm currently sitting in front of a window. So that's another thing that you can do. Just make sure that the light source is not coming from behind you, because that'll just make you look like a shadow. And then of course with audio, just test your speakers and microphone ahead of time to make sure that you can hear them and that they can hear you. eye contact. So this might be an awkward one because we naturally want to look at the screen when we're speaking. We want to see ourselves. But you have to remember that in order to make sure that it looks like you're maintaining eye contact, you actually have to be looking at the camera. So it's a little unnatural and it takes some practice. So try it out and record yourself to see where you can improve. And just make sure it's okay to glance away at times, of course, but ensure that you're just focusing your attention to the camera and not to yourself in the screen. And then the last thing is props. So as far as props go, I think the best thing that you can probably do is just have a notebook and a pen nearby for a variety of reasons. Number one, it allows you to have a cheat sheet, so you can write down notes ahead of time that you can quickly glance at during your interview to help jog your memory and provide you with some examples to answer questions. It also allows you to write notes during your interview. And the only thing I would recommend for that is if you're interviewing with a person, just make sure you let them know that you're taking notes, because when you look away, they can't see what you're looking at. So in order to avoid it looking like you're not paying attention or it's awkward, just make sure you let them know that you're going to be taking notes. And then the other thing that you can do is also have a water bottle or glass of water nearby, because you won't be able to get up during your interview. So that's going to be important. And then I skipped dress, but very quickly on dress, I know this might be obvious, but dress definitely professionally as if you're going in person, but even go a step further and dress from head to toe. So I know it's really tempting to dress just from the waist up and then wear some pajama pants or yoga pants or something comfortable, but just make sure that you're actually fully prepared. Not just because it puts you in the right mindset, but just because if anything were to happen where you did have to get up, you would be presentable. And so now we're going to move into our last tip or strategy, which kind of sums everything up. So it's going to be keeping track and following up. And what I mean by that is creating a job search action plan. So this will help you break down your action items into smaller steps so that it's not overwhelming. And basically the to-do items on your action plan should include everything that we just talked about. So everything from researching the job market and researching potential organizations and companies that you're interested in, to revamping your resume and cover letter, establishing or updating your online presence, identifying key people to reach out to, and then actually reaching out to them and doing those informational interviews. So those are some examples of things that could be on your job search action plan. And you can assign yourself different activities for every day and week and then address them systematically. And you can create an action plan that's unique to you, depending on your circumstances. There are tons of templates that you can download from online, such as the one that we have here on the slide. This is just one that I pulled. It's just an example. But of course, if you'd like more help or if you'd like guidance, you can always feel free to reach out to Career Services and schedule an appointment for us to do together. So in addition to your action plan, maybe on a separate Excel sheet or a different document, have a running list, again, of those companies that you're interested in, as well as the potential contact people who work there. Keep track of who you've reached out to, where they work and what they do, and then keep track of the jobs that you have applied to, as well as the job descriptions. A lot of times those job postings get taken down. So you want to make sure that you copy and paste and save the job descriptions for yourself and your records, because it goes back to that point that I mentioned about really tailoring your resume to that job posting. And JobScan helps you with that, but you need the job description saved in order to do that. And then lastly, follow up. So what I mean by follow up is after an interview, a job interview or an informational interview, always send a thank you email within 24 hours. And if it's a job interview, after that first thank you email within 24 hours, I would say that it would be appropriate to follow up every week or two regarding the job. But just make sure that you also show patience and grace to the hiring personnel, because this is all a new process for them too. So that being said, we are going to be moving on to the last thing. Just to sum everything up, some closing remarks is to, above all, just know that this is a difficult time. We know it's difficult for a lot of people, and it helps to remember that this is not going to last forever. The job market is really cyclical, so the highs and lows will come. We're currently in a low, but we'll get back to a high eventually. So just remember to stay positive, to be patient and kind to yourself, know your value, and then lastly, and most importantly, think outside the box. So you can get creative with your job search and adapt yourself to the current changing environment. And so that being said, I'm now going to hand it off to our executive director, Yas Hardaway. She's going to tell you a little bit more, recap what we do at Career Services and how we can help you.
Mute.
I was on mute. You probably saw me emphatically telling you that we are here to support you, whether it's emotionally and strategically and through resources to help you in this next transition, because we know it's challenging. So just as a recap, Handshake is our career portal with employment listings, professional events that are listed by employers. Many of them now obviously are virtual, and then career resources like the ones that Nadine showed you. It's also a place, as she mentioned, where you can sign up for appointments. You can either sign up for a virtual 30 self-marketing consultation to get help with your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, interview, or general networking strategies, as well as signing up for virtual career counseling appointments. So for those of you who are making a shift or trying to figure out what your next step is, or really trying to prepare yourself for career advancement and really want help clarifying your purpose and life direction, we also meet with you one-on-one to help you not only with the preparation piece, but with the purpose piece of what you want to do. So I'm going to now transition to Dr. Dorn and Sophia, who will talk a little bit about what is next.
Thank you so much. So we hope that you have enjoyed everything that you have heard today. And if so, we want you to come back again for our next Jamming Online session, which will be May 6th. Once again, that is Wednesday, May 6th. And so we will have some special speakers for you that day. And some of them are GSEP alums and part of the GSEP community. The first person is Daniel Kim, and he works with LinkedIn. He is the Enterprise Relationship Manager there. The next person is Patricia Davis. She is a GSEP doctoral student, and she works with Amazon Logistics. She is a manager in program management. The next person is Bree Reynolds, and she is with Flex Jobs, and she is the career development manager with that company. And last but not least is our own Dylan Tercios. He is a Pepperdine employee, and he is the assistant director with Pep Connect under Alumni Affairs. And so he will be talking to you about Pep Connect. And if you have not already joined Pep Connect, that's something you should go ahead and do so that you can have that connection with other Pepperdine students, faculty, staff, and alumni. So these will be the speakers for the next Jammy online session, and we look forward to seeing you there. So please don't go yet, but the next person to speak will be Sophia Henriquez, and she will talk to you about a few other things before we go today.
Hi everyone, so thank you so much for joining us today. We truly appreciate all your support. Just as a reminder, we do have a free resource guide that Frania kindly put together. It's gonna be on the chat below. You can go ahead and click on that, and there's a lot of free information that hopefully helps you out during these troubling times. I just wanted to let you know that we are all here for you. Our GSEP community is all here for you. And then we also have, just as a friendly reminder again, the first 5 people that fill out our survey at the end, it's also going to be in the chat below, will get a free temporary access to JobScan Premium for the first 5 people to that submit the short evaluation. So again, thank you so much for all your support.